श्री श्री राधा वृंदावन चंद्र की जय। श्री श्री निताई गौरंग की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। So today we are going to begin with a new topic. It's called Entering the Spiritual World. Very interesting topic. So this is actually a lecture delivered by Prabhupada in 1966, October, in New York. Very interesting. So all these sessions we are having by the inspiration of Srila Prabhupada, who has so wonderfully given us the teachings in a recorded form. We can take advantage of those teachings and move forward in our spiritual journey. So we have a great sense of gratitude to Prabhupada, offering our sense of submissiveness to Prabhupada. Let us begin our session. So Prabhupada says, everything in the spiritual world is substance and original. This material world is only an imitation. It is just like a cinematographic picture in which we see only the shadow of the real thing. Very wonderful concept, which we'll discuss as we proceed in our presentation. This is the key subject which Prabhupada is going to tell us, that in, what we see in the material world is not actually substance. It is in one sense, it is illusion. But what is in the spiritual world is substance and original. This material world is only an imitation, a reflection. Right? Like in cinema, you don't see the actual people on the screen. It's all light patches. Right? Only a shadow. So in this lecture delivered in October 1966 in New York City, Srila Prabhupada gives an amazing glimpse into the nature of the spiritual world and some positive instructions on how to arrive there at the end of one's perilous journey. Because at least to understand that there is a world beyond this world. There is a world which we are living is one world, and there is a world beyond this world. We see a vast sky above our heads every day. So beyond this material covering, there is a spiritual world. This is what wonderful revelations which Krishna gives in Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So Prabhupada begins his lecture by telling that there is a spiritual sky beyond this material sky. The statement in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, Parastasmatu bhavo anyah vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha yassa sarveshu bhuteshu natshatsuna vinashyati. Yet there is another unmanifest nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. This is a statement Lord Krishna is making in the Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter. He says, beyond this material world, there is a spiritual world, eternal world, transcendental world, right? And that is the ultimate destination which all of us have to go. This material world is subject to constant flux of being created, maintained, and again destroyed. This is called Srishti Sthiti Laya. This is happening in the material world, right? Whereas in the spiritual world, there is no such flux or changes visible. It is eternal. It is ever existing. That is what Prabhupada is telling us through this statement of Bhagavad Gita. So, we cannot calculate the length and breadth of even this universe, yet there are millions and millions of universes like this one within this material sky. Right? Even the modern day physicists, the astronomers, right, the astrophysicists, everybody are very much in understanding that this universe is very vast, or rather there are universes, galaxies are ever expanding. right? We cannot even calculate the length and breadth of the universe which we are right now living. Yet there are millions and millions of universes like this in this vast material sky, which means even this material sky is so unlimited. This material world is so unlimited. And above this material sky, there is another sky, which is called the spiritual sky. This is what Lord Krishna is mentioning. And beyond this material sky, there is another spiritual sky. Another sky known as spiritual sky. Parastasmatu means this transcendental to this material sky is one more world existing. You may not like to think about these things. You may regard them as very unpalatable, but these are facts. So Prabhupada often presented the Vedic truths, the factual understanding. Whether you like or don't like, truth is truth. Right? You may not have experienced it, but fact is a fact. Just like if you close ourselves in a room and say there's totally absolute darkness inside, there's no question of light at all. That is your ignorance, your limited understanding. If you open the doors and go out, open sky, there's bright sunshine. Right? So if you lock up ourselves, Prabhupada always used to give the example. If you are like owls, woken up in the night and say there is no such thing as light, that is your owl mentality. Right? You have to come out in the light, daytime, see such a bright sunshine is there. There is no question of darkness anywhere. Right? Further, Prabhupada says, in that sky, all the planets are eternal and life is eternal. So, Bhagavad Gita has been comparing from the very beginning that there is a permanent existence called spiritual existence, Sanatana existence, eternal existence. And our existence as of now in this material world, in the material body, is not permanent. The Sanskrit words used by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is Sat and Asat. Sat means which endures, which stays forever. Asat means which does not endure, doesn't stay for long time. It has a temporary existence. Our material body, the body what we have, it has been going through so much of transformations from our birth up to now. And we are also very sure this is not going to be, I'm not going to be like this forever. I'm going to leave this body. It's called death. Right? And there are modern way of thoughts from the few philosophers, modern thinkers. They say after you die, everything is over. After you leave this body, everything is over. But that is not the fact. Very clearly, Vedic scriptures tell us, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that our life continues in a different body. Right? Death is not the end of everything. Right? Like this. So the concept of Sat and Asat, eternal and temporariness, is very much understood and discussed in different religions and different scriptures in different ways. Right? Asatoma sadgamaya. This is a Vedic statement. From Asat, in the world of temporariness, impermanence, we go to the world of permanence. Because this is our nature, if you see carefully. We also don't want anything temporary. A very nice example Prabhupada gives. Okay, you have taken one apartment for rent. And you stay there, and very next day, the landlord comes and says, please vacate this apartment. You'll say, what is this? I just came yesterday. But no, I want this apartment now. You please get out. I guess, you go to different place, again, they'll kick you out. So it is not giving me happiness. That is not what I expect. I at least expect that, I stay here for some considerable time. But from the universal time scale, Our change of bodies is like that. One day we stay in the human form, one more day in animal form, one more day in some other form. So like this, we are roaming around, no permanency. Even a simple example of everybody will have experience who have traveled in train. Right? You are sitting in your seat. Rather, somebody will come and say, no, you're sitting in the wrong seat. Maybe you have done a mistake and you are told to sit in some other seat. Then it's such a big inconvenience to take all your luggage and go there. Again, somebody comes, no, it is my seat, you should go. Just imagine how much it is inconvenient. Because the nature of the soul is to have a permanency. Sat, called Satchidananda. Right? That's the understanding. It's the background with which Prabhupada is talking here. So, in the spiritual world, the existence is eternal. All the planets are eternally existing. Life is eternal. We cannot know these things by our material calculations. So we must take this information from the Bhagavad Gita. So how do you know that there is a world called spiritual world, eternal world, beyond this material world, and it is eternal? It is not going to destroy like this material world. How did you get this information? Prabhupada says, all this information is in Bhagavad Gita. Further, Prabhupada is going to tell us why Bhagavad Gita is very authentic to take this, to consult, to get this, to get such knowledge. Now, Prabhupada wonderfully mentions that spiritual world is 3/4 of the total manifestation, of the total creation of the Lord. Now, 1/4 is called Ekapada Vibhuti. This material world is called Ekapada Vibhuti, which means 1/4 of the total creation. And 3/4 is spiritual world. It means the major portion of the creation is spiritual world. Example Prabhupada often gives is how in the city or town, prison house is an insignificant portion, a small portion. Not that the whole city is a prison house. No. Right? Likewise, the material world is actually a prison house. It is relatively, comparatively smaller. The spiritual world, which is actually the world where most of the living entities are very happily serving Lord, is much vast, much bigger and vast. This understanding. So if you stay in this prison and say, oh, this is everything, that is your foolishness. This material manifestation is only 1/4 of the whole manifestation, both spiritual and material. Right? It's a very important piece of information Prabhupada is giving us from the Vedic scriptures. In other words, 3/4 of the total manifestation is beyond the covered material sky. So, if we foolishly conclude whatever I'm seeing and experiencing is what the world is, beyond this world is nothing. That is due to our lack of knowledge. Right? The famous example Prabhupada gives is about how the modern day scientists, they're like Dr. Frog. Dr. Frog is thinking that I am born in a well. My whole life I'm in a well. So for me, 3 by 3 feet well is everything. World for me is well. But a frog from an ocean accidentally falls into this well, and there's a conversation between both of them. And the ocean frog is telling, I'm come from a place where there's vast body of water. So this frog well cannot accommodate this understanding. Oh, how big it is? Maybe 2 times my well. Okay, 3 times. It cannot accommodate. So the ocean frog says, it is much, much bigger and vast. You cannot compare. This well is very insignificant. If you say this, the frog in the well will be, wondering, oh, simply it is mythology. It's mythology or speculation. So the descriptions in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavata, Vedic scriptures may appear to be mythological or fictitious or imaginary or something which is absurd for a person who has no understanding of things beyond beyond this world. Sanskrit, it is called Atmavat Manyate Jagat. I measure everything as per my understanding. Right? If this particular concept doesn't fit in my understanding, it doesn't exist. That is the way the modern approach is, which is totally absurd. So, the spiritual existence is 3/4 of the total manifestation, and material existence is 1/4. The material covering is millions and millions of miles thick, and only after penetrating it can one enter the open spiritual sky. Is another wonderful understanding which the scriptures give us, that the material covering itself, we have to understand the earth in which we are living right now is only one insignificant planet of this whole universe. Like this, there are unlimited number of universes, and everything constitutes one material world. And this material world itself is insignificant compared to spiritual world. Whole creation, this is only insignificant. Then this material world itself, every universe has many layers of coverings. Just like we have this Panchabhuta, Bhumi, Apa, Anala, Vayu, Kham. Earth, water, fire, air, ether. These elements form a covering around every universe. Like, for example, Earth is having a covering. About this Earth, water, 10 times the covering of this Earth. Then fire, 10 times the water covering, which means the covering thickens, and it becomes like a shell. Not easy. Just like a prison house, well guarded, well protected by thick walls of the prison house. Like that. So we are, this material world is under a shell, like a egg, you see, outside the egg. The egg covering is quite thick. That shell is quite thick. It has to protect that embryo. Likewise, the contents within the material universe is covered by a shell of material ingredients. So, Prabhupada says the material covering is millions and millions of miles thick, and only after penetrating it, which means what you see as a spiritual, as a material sky is only something, which is very limited. Beyond this material sky is spiritual sky. You have to penetrate this covering and then go to spiritual sky. Here Krishna uses the word bhavaha anyaha, which means another nature. That verse which we quoted, Bhagavad Gita, in the beginning of this discussion. Bhava anyaha means there's another nature. In other words, there is another spiritual nature besides the material one we ordinarily experience. Right? So this is the knowledge Krishna is giving in Bhagavad Gita. This is called material nature, and there is another nature called spiritual nature. And how do we at least get a sense of whether that exists or not exists? For which Prabhupada again gives a wonderful understanding from Bhagavad Gita. We can all perceive spirit and matter. Right? Even in the present life, we can perceive. But even now, we are experiencing the spiritual as well as the material nature. How? Because we ourselves are a combination of matter and spirit. We are spirit, and only as long as we are within this material body does it move. All of us have this experience. Right? When you say somebody passed away, my father passed away. Prabhupada was questioned. Rather, Prabhupada asked this question to one reporter. Reporter was having some other questions to Prabhupada. When that reporter asked Prabhupada, I can't understand how the deity, the form of Krishna you worship in the temple, is Krishna person. Prabhupada gave this analogy. Okay, your father has passed away, you say, sitting in front of his body. Where did he go? His body is lying there only. So this reporter says, yeah, his spirit soul has passed. So Prabhupada says, did you see spirit soul passing? No. The reporter says. Prabhupada says, take this analogy and says, likewise, Krishna is all spiritual. He is a supreme spiritual personality. Even if he's present in front of us, we cannot see him with our present material senses. We have to purify our senses. So it is important that Krishna, out of his causeless mercy, he descends in a form in which we can see him, we can offer our worship to him. This form is called Archa Avatara, the incarnation of a worshipable form which you can see and we can actually offer our services. It's all spiritual. So this aspect of spirit and matter is our experience every day, right? As long as spirit is there, the body is very active and it is vibrant and interacting with everybody. Once spirit is out, body is dead, doesn't move. As soon as you're out of the body, it is as good as stone. So since we can all personally perceive that there is a spirit as well as matter, should also know that there is a spiritual world as well. So this is a very wonderful logic Prabhupada is giving, that just like you have the experience of spirit and matter, so there should be a world where there is only spirits, only spiritual existence. Right? Just like the material world, you only see matter. Whereas there is a spiritual existence full of chinmaya or spiritual nature existence available there. So now Prabhupada spiritual and material natures. In the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna discusses the spiritual and material natures. What does he say? The spiritual nature is superior and the material nature is inferior. Apareya vitastanya vidhime prakritim param jiva bhuta mahabaho edam dharyate jagat. This is the statement in the 7th chapter. Krishna says this material nature or the material existence is apara. Apara means inferior. Whereas we living entities are superior because we can, we have awareness, we can manipulate matter, we can move matter, right? Whatever extent we are bestowed with powers. So likewise, spiritual nature is superior. We as living entities are considered to be superior, whereas the material nature is inert. It doesn't have power to move. It is called inferior. In this material world, the material and spiritual natures are mixed. This is a statement of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says we are all a combination of what we are experiencing is as spirit soul we are engrossed in a body, matter body. But if you go beyond this material nature altogether, if you go to the spiritual world, we will find only the superior spiritual nature. It's a logical conclusion that yes, this material world is having matter here, whereas there must be a spiritual world, spiritual existence, where there is only spirit. This is information we get in the 8th chapter again. Only Bhagavad Gita can give information about spiritual nature. Prabhupada clarifies. Only Bhagavad Gita can give. No other scripture can give us. It is not possible to understand these things by experimental knowledge. You go on researching, go on speculating for years together or even lifetimes together. Not possible. You cannot figure out what it is. Right? The scientists can see millions and millions of stars through their telescopes, but they cannot approach them. So many mysterious things are there around us. We don't have answers for anything. Right? It only remains a mystery for us. Their means are insufficient. What to speak of other planets? They cannot approach even the moon planet, which is the nearest. right? They may claim we have gone to moon, but how much we know about the moon is very insignificant, right? So our Papa was talking in 1966 when the moon landing had not even happened. In fact, moon landing happened after Prabhupada went to America. They claim. But Prabhupada later on refuted that they never landed on moon. It's all a studio stunt. Simply they make something in a studio as though they are landing in the Arizona desert, and they're claiming that they are landed on moon. Simply wanted to fool people. So like this, approaching other planets, even the moon, which is seen every day, big planet, we can't even approach there. Therefore, we should try to realize how incapable we are of understanding God and God's kingdom by experimental knowledge. So this is the point. So unnecessarily, if we go on boasting ourselves as though we are so equipped, we are so capable, we have got the up-to-date spaceships, our technology is so wonderful, I'll do this, I will do that. We are insignificant. We have to understand our Anu. Anu means I am infinitesimal situation. Infinitesimal, I'm nothing. It's like an ant in one corner of your room. What does it know about the whole house, what you have? It is just moving in one particular pace in that room, just looking for some food, right? So like that, our situation in this whole existence is like that, very insignificant. What is the cosmic scale activities going on, how things are all happening? A glimpse of this is given in Bhagavad Gita. Right? More details are given in Bhagavata. Right? Even if you really understand them, you'll get bewildered. Oh, so many things happening. Even seeing the universal form of Krishna, Arjuna's mind got bewildered. Krishna showed his universal form, is the whole universe he showed in one place. That itself was so bewildering, so frightening for Arjuna. But he requested Krishna, please come back to your original form. Right? So like this, the things in this material world itself is bewildering and confusing for us, puzzling for us. And we are talking about something big which is beyond our capacity to understand, comprehend. That's why spiritual subject matters are called achintya. Achintya means beyond our limited conception, beyond our perception. Adhokshaja means our senses cannot perceive them. They cannot understand them. So Prabhupada says, and since understanding this way is not possible, it is foolishness to try. Right? Whatever attempts we do about, oh, this world is like this, the world beyond may be like this, you go on speculating, making your own theories. It's all foolishness. Right? Rather, we have to understand God by hearing Bhagavad Gita. There is no other way. The Prabhupada is telling the process. How to understand truth, facts. You cannot speculate. It's like my adjacent room, there's some loud sound coming, tap, 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 tap. If we go on speculating, maybe it is, some machine is malfunctioning, or maybe some thief has entered and he's banging something. I can go on speculating. There's no end for this. Right? But if I simply go there, rather, if somebody who's doing that sound, he just comes in front of me and says, this is what has happened. And over. So that's how it is. So Krishna is that authority who is giving us all this wonderful knowledge. He is revealing all his knowledge in Bhagavad Gita. Right? We have our own limitation with regard to comprehending things, understanding things. So we have to understand God as spoken by himself in Bhagavad Gita, by hearing Bhagavad Gita properly. There's no other way. No one can understand who his father is by experimental knowledge. This is the classic example Prabhupada often gives. You want to know who your father is. You can't go on researching the whole city. Oh, yeah, are you my father? Are you my father? One has to simply believe his mother when she says, "Here is your father." Over. Your whole speculation is over. Similarly, one has to believe Bhagavad Gita, then one can get all the information. Hmm? So Krishna is revealing his kingdom, his various aspects in different ways in the scriptures to his different devotees, and all this can be understood when we practice what is known as Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness means bhakti yoga or devotional service. Nonetheless, while there is no possibility of experimental knowledge about God, if one becomes advanced in Krishna consciousness, he will realize God directly. You see. We don't have capability of doing a research or experiment or figure out what is what. But if you take up the process of bhakti yoga, Krishna consciousness, and you start advancing forward, Lord will reveal, called Divya Jnana Hriday Prakashito. Revelation will happen. So it is a very important concept Prabhupada is making here. Material knowledge is all by you trying to grab it, trying to, you're trying to experiment, research, find out, figure out. That's how material knowledge is. Spiritual knowledge is not like that. Spiritual knowledge is by revelation. Very important. In the night, whatever you may try, I want to see the sun. I will do some experiment, I will do some gymnastics, nothing. When sun in the morning reveals itself, only then you can see the sun. So, Divya Jnana Hriday Prakashito means the spiritual knowledge, transcendental knowledge, will be revealed to a person who has taken up the discipline of spiritual practice. He has accepted a bona fide spiritual master. Yes, submissively, trying to follow the instructions of that spiritual master. Then the spiritual master reveals Divya Jnana Hriday Prakashito. Otherwise, it is not possible by our own endeavor, by our own experiment. So Prabhupada says, for example, through realization, I am firmly convinced of whatever I am saying here about Krishna. I am not speaking blindly. So Prabhupada himself has received the spiritual understanding from his master, spiritual master. Right? And he has realized that knowledge. So because of which he has got firmly convinced about what knowledge he has got from his masters, and is very nicely, Prabhupada is in a very affirmative way telling that, yes, I'm not speaking blindly, I'm speaking truth, I'm speaking facts. Similarly, anyone can realize God. Swayam eva sparatyadaha. Direct knowledge of God will be revealed to anyone who sticks to the process of Krishna consciousness. This is the process. So if you can follow this process, is a method. Just like to understand any subject matter, there is a discipline. Science also, if you see, physics, to understand physics, you need to go through some schooling and first learn the basics of what is physics. Then you move forward if you are more interested to know more subjects, much more in depth, you're supposed to pursue that particular subject in a specific way. Again, understanding subject doesn't mean that you do on your own. There are teachers, professors who are well versed in subject. You have to submit to them. You have to inquire from them in a very mood of humility and try to follow what they're telling you. This is how we have experience of, even to get some material understanding or material knowledge of any specific subject, we go through this discipline. So you mean to say spiritual understanding will simply, you do something until you will get it? No. That also has a discipline, which Krishna has explained in Bhagavad Gita. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashtena sevaya. You surrender to a self-realized personality who has realized the truth, you submissively do service to him, inquire in a very mood of humility. Then a self-realized soul, if he is satisfied, he will reveal knowledge to you. Right? That's how it is. This is the way. So you cannot simply say, "Oh, I can figure out." This is not like the material way of trying to lord over, trying to grab things. So knowledge about God will be revealed to anyone, provided you follow the process. What is the process? Process of Krishna consciousness. Such a person will gradually understand, yes, there is a spiritual kingdom where God resides, and I have to go there. I must prepare to go there. Which means this whole process is very scientific. Spiritual understanding, spiritual revelations are all scientific. Otherwise, these subjects cannot be realized unless we follow the discipline. That's what Prabhupada is trying to tell us. Before going to another country, one may hear so much about it. But when he actually goes there, he understands everything directly. I may hear about one very beautiful country. Oh, there's a nice ocean there. On that ocean bank, there's a nice hillock and such a wonderful view. Weather is so pleasant. You may hear a lot of descriptions. Similar descriptions are there about spiritual world in the scriptures. But unless you go there personally, you cannot experience it directly. Right? Similarly, if one takes up the process of Krishna consciousness, one day he'll understand God and the kingdom of God directly. And the whole problem of this life will be solved. This is the whole process. Right? So, the process of Krishna consciousness will qualify you, will purify you, and make you eligible to prepare to go to spiritual world. And meanwhile, while you are in this material world, you practice how to prepare for the spiritual world. This is what the purpose of human life is. Human life is meant for that purpose. To stop this cycle of birth and death, repetitions, which is going on life after life, and return to spiritual world. If you don't do this, our duty of going back to spiritual world will again be entangled in the material world, again go through evolutionary process of going through different species of life. Right? Again, millions of births you have to spend here. Which means a very risky life we are going to live if we don't take up the path of spiritual journey of Krishna consciousness. Right? A life of complete ignorance. Prabhupada now very nicely explains further concepts. Okay, you're telling me to go to spiritual world and the eternal world, and where Krishna consciousness you can go. But what is this material world all about? What is problem here? Somebody may question. Right? So Prabhupada says material world is like a cloud in the spiritual sky. He gives further explanation. Here Krishna uses the word Sanatanaha to describe the spiritual kingdom. The material world is temporary. Spiritual world is eternal, Sanatana. The material nature has a beginning and an end, but the spiritual nature has no beginning and no end. This is the difference. We can understand by a simple example. Sometimes when there is a snowfall, we see that the whole sky is covered by a cloud. During winter, even in our places, we see the sky is cloudy and then it is dense. There is no trace of any sunshine being seen, right? It looks like whole sky is covered by cloud. But actually, the cloud is covering only an insignificant part of the whole sky. Right? If you ask somewhere, in North India, maybe it is cloudy. If you ask somebody, in the East India or West India, they'll say, no, it's very bright sunshine is there. So which means cloud is only covering as a portion of our vision, right? Because we are very minute. However, when a cloud covers a few hundred miles of the sky, to us the sky looks completely covered. So cloud is covering an insignificant portion of the sky, whereas we think, because we are so small, we think, oh, this is what my sky is covered over. It looks, we assume or conclude that, oh, the whole sky must be covered like this. Similarly, this entire material manifestation called the Mahatattva is like a cloud covering an insignificant portion of the spiritual sky. A wonderful revelation. But again, they're all statements in the scriptures like Bhagavatam, which is very nicely explained. Prabhupada is giving a gist of them. So this material world is what? It is like a cloud covering an insignificant portion of the spiritual sky. The vast spiritual sky. In one corner, there's a material manifestation. It's like a cloud. Just like in the sky, if you see, cloud is not covering the whole sky actually, entirety. This is one corner somewhere here and there, bits and pieces. Like that, the material world is like that. It's a cloud in the vast spiritual sky. And just as when the cloud clears, we can see the bright sunlit sky. So when we get clear of this covering of matter, we can see the original spiritual sky. Right? Cloud is only a temporary manifestation, which has no permanency in that way. It'll come and go. It's their constant movement, actually. So as soon as the cloud, just you would have experienced, sometimes sun is covered by a cloud, becomes a little dark and a little dim. As soon as the cloud little moves away, sun is again visible, then what happens? You can see the original, sun is very bright. Like that, this material world is only a cloud. Material creation is only a cloud. Once we have, perfected our spiritual life, then we are going to see the spiritual sky, spiritual light, light always. So Prabhupada further says, why staying in the material world is not recommended by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Material world is destroyed, spiritual world is eternal. Furthermore, just as a cloud has a beginning and an end, the material nature also has a beginning and an end, and our material body also has a beginning and an end. That's why it's called Asat. This material world is called Asat. It has a beginning and an end. It has a starting date and an ending date. Just like our body. This body has a beginning and an end. We are born so and so. One day it dies and then we say death. You will not be there to see. You'll have some other body. So our body actually exists simply for some time. And we, under illusion, think as though we are going to live permanently, forever. Right? It takes birth, grows, stays for some time, gives off some byproducts, dwindles, and then vanishes. These are the 6 transformations of the body. Shadavikara, it is called. And these transformations the body is going through. In our experience. Similarly, every material manifestation undergoes these 6 transformations. Not only our body, anything in this material world goes through these transformations. They're all subject to destruction, finally. Thus, at the end of this whole material world will be vanquished. It's a time of annihilation. Just like it is said, scriptures tell us, Bhagavad Gita gives us information. There is a partial destruction happening at the end of every day of Brahma. Brahma's one day is equal to 1,000 cycles of 4 yugas. Satya, Treta, Dwapara, Kali. These 4 yugas, 1,000 cycles is what is one day of Brahma, 12 hours of Brahma. So at the end of Brahma's every day, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that the material manifestation up to a certain level in the universe are all submerged in water. Again, when the day begins for Brahma, the water recedes. Again, there is manifestation. Again, there is creation. Bhutva praliyate, Krishna says. So like this, the material manifestation during every day and night of Brahma created and again annihilated. And at the end of Brahma's life, the whole universe becomes devastated, called complete annihilation. Partial annihilation, complete annihilation. There are different types of annihilations. Vinasha, described in Bhagavata. So, but Krishna assures us, Paras tasmatu bhavonyo vyakto vyakta sanatana. Beyond this destructible, cloud-like material nature, there is another superior nature which is eternal. It has no beginning and no end. Right? So that's what Krishna is telling us. So Prabhupada is analyzing that verse, what he quoted in the beginning of this of his talk, the Bhagavad Gita verse, 8th chapter verse, that beyond this destructible cloud-like material nature, there is another superior nature which is eternal. It has no beginning and no end. It is ever existing. This is the information we get from Bhagavad Gita. Then he says, Yassa sarveshu bhuteshu nasya suna vinashyati. See, that one statement of Krishna has so much of depth in it, so much of meaning in it. He says in the same statement, when this material manifestation is annihilated, that superior nature will remain. When everything in the material world is sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu. Nasha, when everything in the material world is destroyed, na vinashyati, that world remains as it is. It will not be destroyed. The spiritual world remains as it is. It's like when a cloud in the sky is annihilated, the sky remains. Right? When the cloud is no more available or at the present, sky is very clear. So likewise, when the cloud-like material manifestation is annihilated, the spiritual sky remains. This is called avyakto vyaktat. Means the material world, the spiritual world right now is avyakta for us. Avyakta means unmanifest. It will become manifest to us, provided the illusions of this existence, that I am this body, this material world is for my enjoyment, all these illusions go away, then we can see the experience of the spiritual world. It's a very significant point Prabhupada is making here. Just like it is said in Vrindavan, there are many pure devotees, even now, who are experiencing spiritual world. They'll sit in one place, they'll simply be absorbed in meditation. And they're able to see the spiritual world sitting here. Because for them, the cloud of illusion, which generally is covering all the conditioned souls in the material world, is not there. There's no such covering. They can experience. It's like in the Bhagavad Gita, Sanjaya, even though he is not in the battlefield, he's sitting in the palace of Hastinapura. He's able to relate all the subject matter of all the details of what's happening on the battlefield, sitting in the palace, because his spiritual master, Sanjaya's spiritual master, Vyasadeva, he revealed the knowledge to him, and because of which he was able to speak, express what is happening as it is, like a live telecast. Likewise, Prabhupada says, the activities in the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavana, Vaikuntha, what's happening there, this is constantly running as a spiritual television in the heart of pure devotees. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. Brahma says that when the pure devotees are absorbed so much in his devotion, their eyes are tinted, anointed with the love of God, that they can only see Krishna within their hearts, always manifesting his various leelas within their hearts. So spiritual world is not far away for pure devotees. It is right in their hearts. Spiritual experience right in their hearts. So this material world, spiritual world is all actually, this material world aspect is only a sort of illusion in our mind which we have created. So it is this, for example, is Vrindavan itself. This existence itself is spiritual. Same spiritual world from the spiritual sky has descended here. To see its spiritual nature, we require spiritual vision. That's the point. That's why when Prabhupada is always addressed as Srila Prabhupada. What does Srila mean? Right? Srila has two components in it. Shri and La. Shri means Srimat, opulent, glorious, majestic. Right? Then La means Leela. So one who is constantly absorbed in the opulent, glorious, wonderful Leelas of Krishna is called Srila. very elevated Acharya, whose heart is always absorbed in such descriptions of Lord Krishna's various pastimes in the spiritual world, is called Srila. So Srila is a very honorific title bestowed upon very elevated, acharyas, gurus. So Prabhupada, his Guru Maharaj, and all the acharyas, just like we see his Guru Maharaj also is called Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. All the acharyas in our parampara, they are called by that, this title, Srila. So Rupa Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami, because their heart is absorbed in the Leelas of Krishna. That's why they're so vividly they can describe the Leelas as though it is right in front of them. Leelas are happening. That's the point. So this is possible, Prabhupada says, for every one of us, provided we move forward, advance in Krishna consciousness. It becomes Vyakta. So we'll discuss more. There's some more things to discuss in this topic in the next session. So I'll conclude here. Anybody has anything to ask, discuss, take up any points of comments? Oh, this platform is open for us. Yes.
Guruji,
Yes, Gupta.
This revelation that material world is surrounded with another layer, multiple layers. This is very interesting. Recently, Sunita Williams was brought back. The space shuttle, which it uses, it is said when it enters the Earth, the outer layer reaches a temperature of 1600 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
So that proves, these kind of layers are there.
Exactly. See, even the modern day concept, there's something known as different spheres, stratosphere, something, different technical names are there.
Yeah.
Even when you travel in the flight now, 35,000 feet high, the temperature is different there, right? That's why that the whole aircraft is having some other type of a temperature inside, which is Earth temperature.
That temperature of 1600 degree is because of the friction.
Exactly.
That's because of the friction that temperature touches so high.
Yeah.
That means some material layers are there.
Of course.
The spacecraft is struggling against touching, all of them. And
clearly, Bhagavata says, earth, water, fire, in proportion to 10 times the universe itself, they are covering, all universe. So it becomes a thick layer. So that covering you have to penetrate.
Very true.
This is the information we get from Bhagavata.
And then another thing, we say, after the material world, we go to spiritual world.
Okay.
So we generally say there are 4 states of consciousness.
Yes.
The Jagrat,
Swapna,
deep sleep, and then
transcendental.
Transcendental, 4 states, one is dreaming.
Jagrata, Swapna. Jagrata means awakened state, sleep state, deep
sleep. Deep sleep, and then the transcendental.
Yeah, correct.
That is Turiya state.
Correct.
So the Turiya state is nothing, where, say the material world is lost.
Exactly. It can happen here also for you.
Yeah.
Even though you're in the material world, Acharya say, Jivan Mukta sa uchyate.
Jivan Mukta,
yes. He can be Jivan Mukta even here. That's what
very
Prabhupada and personalities like Prabhupada are Jivan Muktas. They are living transcendentalists.
Very true.
Who were, for us, apparently in a material body, but their body also is not material.
Very true.
Their consciousness is always absorbed in transcendence.
Very true.
Please understand. So, why we do the samadhi of great acharyas, we don't burn them, we only bury them. Why? Because their body is transcendental. And they will keep giving mercy to us even after they have completed their leelas and they have gone to some other part of this whole creation.
Very true.
The Lord, that's why in Vrindavan, the samadhis of great acharyas are there, and they are blessing even now. The leelas are nitya going on. Okay, very good. Thank you. Wonderful. Thanks for your understanding. Okay, so let's conclude here and close, and we'll continue discussing next week. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.